Hello, everyone. Today I'm doing my second anti-fascist video. The first was on how federalism makes it more difficult for fascists to take over. This kept Switzerland out of World War II and many other wars, and it prevented Switzerland from falling into the hands of Nazis. And there were Swiss Nazis, but they never prevailed. Unfortunately, in the U.S., this anti-fascist defensive bulwark is failing. Not only do you have individual U.S. states falling to fascism, you've also got a party that is determined to institute fascism at the federal level. And that is something we Californians cannot accept. That right there would be a cause for us to declare our independence and liberate ourselves from a fascist U.S., preventing a fascist takeover here in California. Now, in my first video, I talked about how a plurinational republic of California and its indigenous nations recuperating their sovereignty in the same act would make it more difficult for fascists and militarists to prevail here. But again, we have the negative example coming up of a strongly federal United States falling to fascism. First, you had a ruling that empowered fascists in certain U.S. states, moving us here in California to declare that the fascists will not prevail over women here in California. And that's just the beginning. Now, you got moves being made, preparations being made to ban abortion at the federal level, to throw the election of the president and vice president of the U.S. to the states, a sort of perverse federalism, if you would, but enacted at the federal level. So federalism, yes, is an anti-fascist strategy. That's why it was adopted in West Germany and then spread throughout Germany. But there is another aspect to resisting fascism, and that is putting together a left unity. Not like Stalin did it in the DDR, East Germany, where he required the Social Democrats and the Communists to unite their parties into the SED. Okay, we can do it ourselves without any external coercion. And we'd better get to it, because without left unity, the resistance against the fascists is extraordinarily weak. It may be numerically strong, but they hold back. So let me tell you about the last Red Star report. They're at a Democrat event of resistance against basically the Republican attempt to roll back the clock on women's right to reproductive freedom, which is a good thing, right? But that's all they were on about. The one break in the clouds was very telling, and that was an Iranian immigrant who was saying that Iran needs freedom and democracy. Of course it does. Every country needs that. But what's he going to do? Okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to force it down their throats? Obviously not, because that wouldn't be freedom and democracy. We've seen the Americans do that time after time. And of course, across the Gulf sits Saudi Arabia, which doesn't even pretend to be a democracy. It's a theocracy, really, and a kleptocracy at that. And here they were committing genocide against the people of Yemen. And that didn't budge the Americans. What budged them was that they had the temerity to cut back on oil prices, driving up fuel costs in coordination with the Russians. Now they need freedom and democracy. You see how the Americans work? We don't work that way. And again, the silences were deafening at this Democrat event in Long Beach that Red Star Report reported from. Yes, there was somebody who was tortured and killed in Iran. And that's a terrible crime. Multiply that by thousands, and you've got Palestine, you've got Yemen, you've got Russian-speaking Ukrainians being chased out of Ukraine. Many instances of this in many different countries. And it's very interesting to see what the Americans choose to focus on and what they are silent on. That, their silences speak volumes. And meanwhile, they roll us towards World War III, which would be a tragedy not only in itself, but they're also using that buildup to roll back the fight against climate change. Coal plants are being fired back up again. Oil drilling is resuming. Pipelines are being refloated, etc. All as the Russians and Ukrainians tear each other's infrastructure to pieces. It's a wonderful world, right? And the American response is just to throw petrol on the flames, right? That's all they're doing. Just empty the tank out onto the flames. So we obviously must do something different, obviously. So here I am watching the Red Star Report, and I got this in my hand. This is my sample ballot, folks. Actually, this is the ballot. This is my mail-in ballot. Huzzah. Okay? We Californians are empowered as citizens by these ballots. But you look at the ballot, and there's some very peculiar things going on here, right? Bear in mind that I am a member of one of the third parties, Peace and Freedom, one of the parties of the Left Unity slate, no less. Okay? So, I look at the instructions and how to mark your paper ballot. And then there's a thing about write-in voting. Print the name of the qualified write-in candidate in the blank space provided, fill in the oval, and do not write in a candidate already printed on the ballot. Okay? Simple, right? So, we go past the instruction sheet to the actual first part of the actual ballot. And, I know what. I'll write in Left Unity candidates. So I look at this, and I show it to you because you look at it, and let's see who we can vote for governor. Okay? The Democrats, the Republicans, and nobody else. There is no space to write in a third candidate. Same for lieutenant governor, secretary of state, controller, treasurer, attorney general, insurance commissioner, members of the board of equalization, and the partial senatorial vacancy to be filled by one of two and only two candidates. No write-in space. This is not democracy. A democracy would have spaces for the write-in candidates. And indeed, You look down ballot and the nonpartisan offices, and they do have write-in space, but not on the partisan offices. Sorry, folks, but I, for one, do not consent to be erased. So, page 1 is useless to me without a write-in space so that I can put in left unity candidates that reflect where I'm at, where a lot of people are at, and probably more reflect where more people are at than there are Republicans in California. It's a strongly Democratic, overwhelmingly Democratic state, and they're losing ground, not to the Republicans, but to us, to the left, the actual left. So I am ill-served as a citizen of California, but I am well-served in one sense and ill-served in another as a member of the world's largest national assembly. Here are the initiatives, right? And I'll definitely be voting on those. Again, the silences are deafening. There's some good initiatives on there. There's some bad initiatives on there. And such as, legislation, right? But the silences on universal health care, on a universal basic income, on tackling homelessness and tackling global warming, etc. The silences are deafening. So, and of course, there's nothing on the ballot about becoming independent from the U.S. We've tried several times to get something on the ballot, but because the requirements to get something on the ballot are what they are, we couldn't. Try though we might. So we are a national assembly, we who vote directly on ballot propositions, that is ill-served by government. And they don't serve us at all when it comes to ballot candidates, right? They just erase us. I, for one, do not consent to be erased. So what can we do after this sham election? And I will call it a sham election. Different. Well, what we can do is not make the mistake that was made in the face of the rise of the Nazis. In Germany in the 1930s, we can and are constructing left unity. We have a left unity slate. This slate can be expanded to include the California National Party, the Party of California's independence from the U.S. You compare their platform to those of the Greens and Peace and Freedom, my party, and they're quite close. And any deafening silences from within the CNP will no longer be possible when they're in the left unity slate. Now, for the kicker. Consider two possibilities which are by no means mutually exclusive. Possibility the first. Peace and Freedom Party, my party, joins the California independence movement. It would instantly become the largest party in that movement. Okay? The largest organization of any kind in that movement. Been around since 1968, and so far we barely can get elected dog catcher. The left unity slate improves our chances, but as you just saw, the gates are barred to us by people who would rather see the Republicans in office than us. The other possibility, and I'm going to moot here, how do you get peace and freedom into the California independence movement? What if the CNP were to become the California independence wing of PFP, which has never grown significantly past California. In other words, how do you bring PFP into the movement? You join the PFP. This is where you're going to find the people that are most interested in California independence in the rank and file, more so than any other party. And it's a multi-tendency socialist feminist party. PFP is my party. And the CNP, by doing this, would instantly become the largest tendency in PFP. It would transform our politics hugely. For CNP to be able to, as an independence wing of PFP, reorient PFP to become a party of California independence. It would reorient our socialist movement. It would reorient our California independence movement. It would fly the flag of peace emblazoned with the star of liberation. We can do it. Si se puede. We can do something different. We can achieve left unity, the likes of which has not been seen for a long time. We can do it. Nobody has to do it for us. We can do it. Si se puede. Viva Gran California Libre. Hasta la victoria. Venceremos.